Marieke Roskes.
First, I would like to thank Sligte, Shalvi, and Dreu, my great collaborators on this project. Sometimes we are motivated to get positive outcomes, like Coyote that tries to eat the tasty roadrunner, and we call this approach motivation. At other times, we're motivated to avoid bad things from happening, like a roadrunner that does not want to be eaten by Coyote. This we call avoidance motivation. Now today I will talk about one of the consequences of approach motivation. Approach motivation is associated with activation of the left brain hemisphere. And because the left hemisphere of the brain controls the right side of the body, approach motivation has been linked to all kinds of right-oriented movements. For example, when dogs see their owners, they tend to wag their tail towards the right. Toads are more likely to strike at prey that appear on the right side than on their left side. And when humans kiss their romantic partners, they tend twice more often they lean towards the right than towards the left. Now we expected that this right-oriented bias under approach motivation would appear especially when people have to act very quickly and when they do not have time to override this automatic tendency. We tested this idea in an experiment and in a field study. And in the experiment, we used a really great task by Flip on a Firster to evoke approach motivation by asking participants to write a story about a mouse trying to get a nice piece of cheese titled The Happiest Day in the Life of the Mouse. Or, to evoke avoidance motivation, we asked participants to write a story about the mouse trying to escape from being eaten by the owl titled The Terrible Death of the Mouse. Then we asked participants to divide lines into two equal parts. It is a computerized task, so participants could divide the line by clicking on it. And to do this, they either had quite a lot of time, 4 seconds to divide the line, or they had only 1.5 seconds to divide the line before it disappeared. And this is what we found. As you can see, there's a general tendency to divide the lines a bit left to their actual centers. And this is very common in countries where people read and write from left to right. But what we can also see is that in the approach condition, people tended to divide the line a bit more right to the right than in the avoidance condition, but only under a high time pressure. Now, in the field study, we looked at approach-motivated individuals acting under a high time pressure. We looked at soccer goalkeepers. They see the ball flying towards them, they have to decide in a split second whether to dive to the left or to the right. And more specifically, we looked at penalty shootouts in soccer tournaments, in decisive games after which only one of the two teams can advance to the next round. If a game ends in a tie, the game is decided by a penalty shootout. Now, in a penalty shootout, both teams alternate and they get to kick a ball towards the goal, and each team gets 5 kicks, and each kick is all about 2 people. The kicker, that is 11 meters from the goal, trying to score, and about the goalkeeper that tries to defend the goal, to stop the ball. Now, what's very striking is that a vast majority of these penalty kicks is scored, so all the pressure is on the kickers, because they're really expected to score. If they don't score, they sort of look stupid. Whereas goalkeepers, they're not really expected to stop the ball. But if they do stop the ball, they become the big hero. It was very nicely put by Oliver Kahn, who was the goalkeeper of the German national team. Kickers are the ones that can lose in a penalty shootout. Goalkeepers are the ones that can win and ultimately become heroes. So goalkeepers in penalty shootouts have nothing to lose. They can only win. They are approach motivated. Now we expected this approach motivation to be especially strong when the goalkeeper's team was behind, and when all eyes are on the goalkeeper, as if they are in the spotlight, they have the chance to become the big hero. And to test this idea, we watched all penalty shootouts ever taken in the history of the World Cup soccer, and we coded whether for the score, whether from the goalkeeper's perspective they're ahead, tied, or behind, and whether the goalkeeper dives to the left, to the right, or stayed in the center, which hardly ever happens. This is what we found. Indeed, when the game is tight or when the goalkeeper's team is ahead, they equally often dove to the right as to the left. However, when their team was behind, they twice more often dived to the right than to the left. So to sum up, approach motivation leads to a right-oriented bias, especially under a high time pressure. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
The kicker is trying to avoid something bad. Do you guys any preference which direction they kick the ball?
Right, so the question is about the kickers. I haven't talked about goalkeepers, but kickers, they are avoidance motivation. Do they dive, or they do kick more to the left and towards the right? The short answer is no, they don't. There's two reasons I think that are nice to point out for this. One is that while the link between approach motivation and right-oriented bias is quite widely documented, the link between avoidance motivation and left-oriented bias is much more unclear. And moreover, the kickers don't have to, unlike the goalkeepers, don't have to act really, really fast. They have time to think about and strategize about the direction where to kick. So for these two reasons, we were not surprised to find that kickers always, regardless of the score, equally often kick to the left and to the right. Thank you.